All you hoes, you and your mammy and your granny too. I'm sick of this shit. All you hoes don't give a damn what you wanna do.
They like the chaos.
They like the chaos. So when you're able to
chaos,
let that chaos reign with
chaos,
let that chaos reign with
chaos,
let that chaos reign with
must reign. Yes. Welcome, guys. Welcome again to another edition, another stream, another live stream, another podcast here on the Chaos Reign Show. I am Chaos Reign. And as you know, you see the thumbnail, you see the title. Do I need to explain more in detail? It looks to me Myron Gaines, I think the Sudanese man from New England, or what they call Connecticut, face off against Candace Owens. And I think she's from North Carolina. I'm not sure where Candace Owens is originally from. Let me look her up. Where is she originally from? No, she was born in White Plains, New York. So we're looking at two East Coast people, both tethers in their own way. Candace said that one of her parents is from the Caribbean. I last time I checked, and as you know, Myron is an African man from Sudan, and they're gonna have this conversation. This looks like a free-for-all battle between the two people, and there's gonna be ideologies being pushed through. There's gonna be conspiracy theories possibly pushed through, and there's gonna be other things that's gonna be leading to today's discussion or debate, or what you want to call reaction to this. I'm hoping that this conversation, once it's done, it becomes civil, and I hope that Candace does go all the way left with her rhetoric, especially when it comes to white folks. And you know, she's gonna talk about black folks. I doubt that she's gonna talk about black folks or niggas. But let's go into the video at hand. No further ado, make sure you turn your speakers up high. If you're not subscribed to the Chaos Reign Show, I'm not sure you're waiting for it. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and please participate in the chat room or in the comment section at the end of this video. Let's go. Enjoy.
Kind of with that, I saw that you had did a debate on Jubilee with a bunch of feminists.
Jubilee!
Obviously, we're in a modern day age. Things have changed quite a bit. We've both been pretty critical of feminism, but I think with what you're doing, you know, you're able to.
And mind you, Jubilee is run by, I think, a Mexican person, a Latino, from what I know or what I've seen. I could be wrong, but I've seen the brief commercials. It look like somebody's running that spot for whatever reason. So anyhow, let's go.
Really reach a demographic of women that just guys like me and Andrew Tate and others just aren't going to reach, because, you know, we're abrasive in the way that we get it. So they might want, you know, another female's perspective on, you know, the detriments of feminism and everything else like that. So kind of given how society is now, how do you see feminism today with young women? And then what do you predict is going to happen in the next 5-10 years? Are we getting better? Is it getting worse? What are your thoughts in general on that?
So I was actually very interested in Tate culture, I guess I'm going to call it. So I'm going to put you in that orbit of Tate.
What do you mean Tate? You mean Andrew Tate chick? This is not no Andrew Tate culture. This is what they call the red pill space, the black pill space, and go as far as no blue pills allowed. Well, they're everywhere. You know, if you take your prescriptions, they're out here, and they're amongst the flock, the groups. to lay out and push back against feminism, push back against, attack on men, push back against systematic oppression. So this thing they call take culture, no, this is more down the line, more looking at as this is what we consider real talk, real men voicing their opinion. So we don't use the word take culture. What Andrew Tate said was word salads, and the government clamped down on him, so we can't use him. Let's go.
Culture, all of these male influencers that were coming out and calling girls bitchs and hoes and all this stuff, and people sat back and were like, oh my god.
Well, what's wrong with hoes? A lot of men, they'll call it hoes, but we want to screw hoes. So overall, nothing's wrong with it. I'm not sure what's the issue here. The only thing that a lot of men complain about is they're hoping that the women open their box a little bit more earlier. Let's go.
This is horrible, whatever. But I'm like, wait a second. Whatever you think about him, whatever you think about Tristan, whatever you think about Myron, this culture got very big very quickly, and there's got to be something there, right? There has to be. So that was the reason why I flew out to meet Andrew Tate. There was all these conspiracies that I knew him before and all. I met Andrew a total of 2 times before I did his show. My husband hung out with him maybe 3 times in his life before him and I met. He was actually friends with PJW. And that's how I met Andrew.
Gotcha.
So my husband was actually friends with PJW.
So you're saying this take culture is the same one that helped you find your now husband, Miss Owens? Interesting. Very interesting. So your husband is just as red pill as anybody else. And I question it because, he is interracially mingling with a non-white woman. Let that sink in, gentlemen.
And I just wanted to know what it was. I'm never a person that will dismiss something on its face and call it a name. Like, there has to be some substance here. And what was actually happening was you got Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate and you got Myron Gaines because you perpetuated a culture of Lena Dunham's, right? So you're acting like men just got tired of it is what happened. And finally, men looked around and somebody stood up and said, it's actually okay to be a man and you don't have to listen to any of these women. Now, you may not have liked how they said it. You may not have liked that they were doing this on top of Lamborghinis. But the reality is that what sat beneath that was a horribly toxic culture where women were dictating the terms to men. And every time a man did something that actually felt natural to them, you called it toxic masculinity, and books were written, and Lena Dunham is writing articles, and there's a show about this, and Lena Dunham's naked on Instagram. I wrote a whole chapter about Lena Dunham in my book, and she's naked on Instagram, and she's lecturing you if you don't want to see her, overweight, naked, and tatted up. So you can't blame
Lena Dunham. Who the hell is that? Anybody in the chat room know who Lena Dunham is? Let me know, please. I'm not familiar with this chick.
The culture, Tate culture, until you are ready to address where this actually came from, which was women constantly bashing men over the head and telling them that masculinity, full stop, was wrong.
Given the problems that we have, obviously, whether it's me or Tate or other people, will kind of come in and say, hey, this is what you need to do as a guy. This is how the modern day marketplace is now when it comes to dating. What's your approach to kind of combating this problem from a female perspective?
First, you have to understand the origin of feminism, right? You have to understand that this was not a culture and an ideology that came because they wanted women to have equal rights with men, okay? This was a CIA-sponsored PSYOP. Gloria Steinem was sponsored by the CIA, okay? These protests were sponsored by men in government. A lot of them homosexual, actually. And the reason for that was simply because they wanted to tax, it was actually twofold, I would say. They wanted to tax household income both ways. And also they wanted women to, instead of focusing on their kids, which comes natural to women, right, to be the quote unquote, like I say, CEO of the household, they wanted to remove that and to have the children given to the government for 6 hours a day. Beyond 6 hours a day, 6 hours a day, plus whatever sports activities, which gives the government full control over the minds of the children. This came straight from the Pale of Settlement. After they assassinated the Tsar, you had these Jewish women like Emma Goldman, who came over to America. Emma Goldman was the mentor to what's her face from Planned Parenthood. I'm blanking on her name for a moment. I'm going to say Margaret Sanger. That was her mentor. Mm-hmm. And so this was, in fact, a very radical communist movement that came to America and sought to overthrow families, family institutions, strong men, feminine.
But Candace, if Miss Sachs, if that's what you say, was one of the lead proponents of overthrowing families so that way they could stabilize or destabilize structure and probably, government, you think the government would not know about that already? Wouldn't the government also be involved in the full on scale destabilization of American people psychologically, spiritually, and now eventually leading to the physicality? Because we don't give this government a lot of credit. They don't do things one-offs or coincidences. They do things in design. They plan out months, decades in advance to see the outcomes of what we see in the present day. Now, I know you label the Jewish people because they are another set of tribal Europeans, but it's much deeper than that. And they might be the head orchestrator, but there are other people that are involved as well. I hope you go into more detail of this, because family structure, regardless how people think or feel, and I'm going to do some digging right now to check, has women always been at the household for the last 70, 80 years? I'm going to look that up right now as she continues to talk, see if there's any validation of that.
Women stands in the way of government and absolute control.
In your book, Make 'Em a Sandwich, what are some of the things that you tell the women? Because I'm assuming it's a book that's going to be centered around how women can kind of get in the marketplace, find a long-term partner, get married. What are some of the strategies that you tell women to implement to find a partner? You don't have to give it all away.
Yeah,
maybe
no,
one
it's
or
fine.
two.
I don't even try in my book to sell them a strategy or a technique. I just tell the truth. So here's the history of feminism. Here's what we were told in school. Here's actually how it went down, right? Knowledge is power. I give them the actual statistics, the fact that what was sold to you was you were going to be just like a man and you were going to be happier. Women are actually more miserable than they've ever been. If you go back and you ask most women about their grandmothers, they remember grandma being happy, right? So what they actually sold to you, now you've achieved this equality, quote unquote equality, and women have never been more miserable, and women are popping more pills than they were popping and finding it harder to find a partner and wondering why. Well, it's because you attacked natural masculinity. You told men that they shouldn't be allowed to lead. Women have to lead. And actually, you didn't want that, right? You were convinced psychologically in a classroom, as I was back when I wanted to be a feminist, or I thought feminism was cool. And you should know that. And I think that that's how you change things without trying to say, here's a strategy and here's how we're going to move forward. Let people know true knowledge, let people know true history. And I think the rest of the stuff happens naturally, or I hope.
For you on your journey, when did you figure out that feminism was a lie? Like, was there a certain event that triggered it that you were like, holy crap, this is BS?
I actually tell the story in this book. I think I do, actually. I think it's in this book, or it's in my last book, actually. It's in Blackout, of this teacher that I had. And I was required to take a Feminism 101. It was called Women's Studies. Maybe it was Women's Studies 201 at the University of Rhode Island. And at that time, I was like, yeah, I'm a feminist, of course. Who doesn't want equality as they sold it?
Yeah.
I get into this classroom, and this teacher, I realized very quickly, was not actually motivated by wanting equality. I was in a classroom where she was trying to convince me that every problem that we had in society was due to men. This was a literal class that was designed to basically teach women to hate men.
Yeah.
Like, no matter, all you had to do to get an A was she would introduce any problem. She could have lost her keys that morning and been like, why did this happen?
Patriarchy.
Well, you know what, who designed?
Well, what do you know? Well, what do you know? And this is the danger of a lot of institutions in the modern time era we live in. They are solidifying, institutionalizing women of all races, especially colleges, to train the next bitch to be much disagreeable to men, modern or above average men on a daily basis. And mind you, some young girls that become women that before they get into the institution, they already were indoctrinated by the help of media, television, show them that they're perfect, show them what standards they should follow, give them delusional thoughts. I mean, it's all out there. So if Candace is revealing from her days of going into colleges what is the future now and the present day now? Because she left college like, I think she left college like 13, maybe 14 years ago, maybe longer. Interesting. Very insightful.
Designed cars. You know who designed cars? Do you know who designed the whole concept of a car key and who designed the couch that you lost it in this morning? It was men. It became to a point where for me it was like laughable.
Yeah.
But there was this one particular class where it clicked for me because when I was in college, I had an eating disorder. So I was sitting in her class and I was anorexic, and she gets into this topic of anorexia, eating disorders, and she gave us some statistic about the percentage of women that have eating disorders. And I'm making this up now, but it was something like 80% of people who have eating disorders are women. And she asked the class, why is that? And we were supposed to say, and she did say, that it was because men control the advertising agency and men want women to be skinny. And it had literally, I'm sitting here having this experience, nothing to do with a man. Like nothing, no man said you're fat, you have to be skinny. That is completely made up. And I'm listening to her try to psychologically convince me that my eating disorder came from a man when it just factually didn't. Most people who suffer with anorexia know it's a control mechanism. It actually has nothing even to do with weight. It just is like, this is the one thing you can control. And I just kind of called her out on that. And I raised my hand. I was like, whoa, wait a second. Okay, well, let's look at another statistic. What percentage of people are juicing up with steroids? Right? That's not a super healthy thing to do. If we said that.
Pause 1 second. Before we continue, make sure you guys hit the like button and share the stream. One thing I forgot to put here. I found the information about this thing about women never work, and their husbands work and they used to stay home. This was the notion. This is the claim that's been going on in America now for the last 60, 70 years now, that we hear even during the 50s. When they said most Americans start to become upper mobile. That's a lie. I'm finding out from digging this. It's not all true. And here's what I read. The idea of American women of all races always live at home and their work is misconception. And there's a breakdown. Colonial and 19th century, women of all races worked through often in different roles. White women were frequently confined to domestic work, but many also labored on farms, ran family business, or worked as teachers. The same teacher that taught Candace Owens about, men are bad, men are evil. They were majority teachers. So, rewind back. The teacher system is always controlled by them, including white women are the head fronter of the biggest indoctrination right now as we see and here in the West, for good reason. Let me keep reading on so you guys get more detail. And enslaved African American women were forced to work in fields and households. Native American women contributed to agriculture, crafting, and community leadership. Now we go to the Industrial Revolution of 1800, early 19th century, or 1800, early 1900s. Women entered factories, textile mills, domestic service. Immigrant women often work in garment shops or as maids. Case point, black folks, black women. And mind you, Industrial Revolution at the time, before World War I or II, I think it started to work more. Then hit World War, the first one, 1910 from 1940, World War I and II. Millions of women joined the workforce in factories, office, and even the military support service while men fought overseas. Post-war era, 1950s, the most key component that people get wrong, because they said this is the era where people said most of their husbands work and they stay home. This is what's going to dispel the myth right now. Culture pressures encourage many women, especially white middle-class women, to stay home. But women of color and work-class women often continue working out of necessity. So the only point was somewhere in the 50s. The 50s, mind you. The 50s. That's why you see a lot of people talk about Leave the Beaver, or they want to say they want to have that life where they work, their mom stays home, raise children. That's all from the 1950s. It's an old concept. And we have not evolved from that concept for the last over 70 years. Now, modern era, 1960 to today, women across all racial and ethnic groups have increasingly entered professional fields, political science, politics, science, and leadership. Today, women make up nearly half of the U.S. workforce. So the key points of all this is women in America always worked, sometimes in paid jobs, sometimes in unpaid labor, like farming, caregiver, house management. Racist, class, and social expectations shape the kind of work women did. But the idea that they never work is historically inaccurate. So when they talk about 50s, yeah, someone probably got some, didn't have to work, but that changed and went right back in the 60s. And mind you, not every woman in the 50s did not stay home, including white women. It was luxury for you to stay home. So American women from all racial backgrounds have long contributed to both economic and economic and society, whether inside or outside the home. Let's continue with the videotape. I had to let that out because that's very important. Let's go.
90% of it was men. Would you have presented to the class that it was because of women, right? Because women are telling them they have to look like this. And she was, I mean, when I say she went white and she said to me, and I always tell the story on stage, she said to me, I feel like you were sent to me from the men's department.
Of course.
Yeah. And I told her back that I was sent to her from the common sense department.
Yeah.
And that everything couldn't be because of men. So I think that was kind of the first time that it clicked for me that this was some sort of a psychological program. In many ways, I was actually saved by.
How old were you at that point?
I was in college,
20s?
so I was 19.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
it was the first year of college.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a prerequisite.
Oh, sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I know I was muted. I said Candace Owens is the last of the 80s baby. She's been out of college now for 14 and potentially 15 years, or even go as far as 13 years. It would either split between 2011 or 2012, roughly, depending when she left high school. So at 19, that would make back in 2008. She went to, for her first class was that. That's now 17 years ago. That's what they've been teaching even back then. And right now it's probably maybe increase over the last few years. The point is this: she's been out of college now for a long time. Been to college for started college 17 years ago. So what they taught back then holds weight and resonates to a lot of young women today with the same weird indoctrination. And it's indoctrination in a good way, in a bad way, for those who don't know. Let's keep going.
So it was interesting for me.
Oh, guys, I see more people watching the building. Please like the stream. If you got any comments, please leave it in the comment section. If you support the channel, I appreciate more. Super chats or cash apps, I'll read it out. Let's go.
I think.
Did that make you shift your priorities? Like,
I wasn't I was never a gun-ho feminist. I just was like in the back of my mind, same way that I was liberal. Like I was never voting Democrat, but if you had asked me, what do you think about this? I would have very quickly been like, of course we need feminism.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of thinking, man, these women are really annoying in this classroom. Because then there were the majors that were there, you know, the people, these women that were tatted up and like growing their armpit hair out. We had those people in class and I was like, I don't like any of these people. So it made me think that there was something more to the feminist movement, I think, which was indoctrination.
Interesting. Okay. So I think you've been able to do what every woman dreams of: have a family, have children, have your dream man, but simultaneously being able to also, you know, run a business and do what you want to do. And I noticed when you were debating on
What's good, Mr. O? I see you in the building. What's good? Make sure you guys share the stream if you can, and hit the like button. And if you want to support the channel, I appreciate it. Let's go.
Jubilee, some of them tried to say, oh, well, you're a hypocrite. You're over here talking about feminism being bad, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, you obviously have a lot of things set up where you maximize your ability to be with your family, right? You do your show, get out of there, spend time with your family. What would you say to the people that sit there and try to call you a hypocrite because, you know, you're successful in your own right, but you've been able to also balance a family, which many women can't do. They want to do it, but they can't do it. What would your response be to those critics?
First and foremost, do not allow people to rule you by exceptions. What I mean by that is it is such a mistake to look at my life and to say, Candace did this, and so therefore I can do this. My life is actually exceptional, right? We are sitting in my house. I do things on my own terms. I wake up in the morning. I get to homeschool my kids, right? I'm homeschooling my children for hours. That's now very important to me. I get to do a podcast from home. And I am actually doing something that I enjoy, right? What is the number one thing? If you find any woman that makes it and she's successful, what is she doing? She's tapping into her femininity, communication. Women communicate more than men. I have a whole chapter on this. If you have a daughter and a son, you know this. Girls start speaking faster, and we will speak more words from men for the rest of our lives. And when you actually look, and I ask people in this chapter, who is the most, if I ask you the question right now, who is the most successful man in the world? Just give me your answer. If you have to name a couple of them.
I bet you're gonna say Donald. I bet you're gonna say Donald Trump.
From a financial perspective?
Yeah, sure. Full stop. If I said who's the most successful man in the world, who would you
could
say?
Like the richest guy in the world, who would be Elon, even though it pains me to say that. But
okay, yeah, no, but that's the right. You would say Elon, or you would say
something based on meritocracy, finances, and
you would
status.
say Jeff Bezos.
Precisely.
Everyone would say the same answers, right? Yep. If I ask you who is the most successful woman in the world, what would you say?
That's where it gets true. Yeah, right. I see what you're saying.
Like, what is it? Like off the top of.
And you know, that's an excellent question. You know what? I'm gonna do some research on that. Let's check who's the most successful woman in America. Because think about it, we could name a couple people that, from what our eyes could deceive, is successful as a man. They could use Elon Musk, like Myron said. We could also put Donald Trump. We could put Jeff Bezos. And we could put some black people like Puffy, LeBron. But you wouldn't know you're not going to use black men because, you know, black men are not supposed to be in that same pedestal, unfortunately. Because in the eyes of a lot of us, when we look at successful, we look at someone that's not black in essence. All right. Well, let's keep going.
Your mind, like what are the names that come to your mind?
Yeah, it's an ambiguous, like you're like, okay, well, are we going to go off career? Are we going to go off where?
But
versus
most
a man,
people would say like Taylor Swift or Oprah.
Mm-hmm.
These women are
Beyonce.
nowhere near the richest women in the world. Nobody knows the name of the richest woman in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go about through this in my chapter. Yeah, you'd say Beyonce. I'm like, these are the names that you would say off the top of your head if I asked you who's the most successful. Nobody knows. Everybody knows the names of the most the richest men in the world, and yet nobody knows the names of the richest women in the world.
Good
right?
point.
Nobody knows the names of them. And the answer is a Russian woman. And I talk about this in my book. I'm like, nobody knows her name.
Well, when they consider Oprah the richest woman or one of the richest women, because she was on TV, when she fall on the label, I'm just saying, it goes back to show you when they talk about people that as esteem, influence, and what is considered wealth and power. To the minds of a lot of these folks as you see on this screen, they naming non-black people, mostly European people, rather like you said, they might name Beyonce. Beyonce is a singer, but they're gonna name somebody else that's not really black. So pay attention. Pay attention.
And the women that you do name actually all tapped into their femininity. Taylor Swift was writing songs about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
She was writing songs about looking for love, and women flocked to this. Oprah was communicating to the housewife, right? She was speaking about issues. They're tapping in actually to the one thing that actually you think they're standing against. Oh, they're the ultimate feminists. No, they tap into their femininity and found success, actually. And women do not, when we think about success, we don't measure it in terms of finances. That's why these women, we think are the most quote unquote successful women in the world.
Mhm.
Whereas men naturally think finances. Oh, it's Jeff Bezos, it's Elon Musk. So I do a chapter and I speak about that in my book about who the richest woman in the world is. And then the next 10 women who are the richest in the world are all rich because of who they divorced.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is the picture that we're recognizing here? We don't measure success in the same terms as men measure success, nor should we. And it's important for women not to think that becoming financially rich somehow means that you are successful or that you have triumphed something in life.
And since having children, like, how has that like shifted your priorities as far as, I mean, and you can go into as much detail or as little as you want, as far as like how you've kind of prioritized child rearing versus like maybe your career and doing social media as much? Because I noticed, you know, before you were super, super active, you still post obviously every day, but now it's like, you know, you have other priorities. So how has that kind of shifted?
Yeah, my family is.
All right, since we can't name off the head, I gotta do some searching because we're gonna learn here. And really, truly, I think men are gonna be more impressing to know who is more doing well, because men are the ones that build society. We fund and build everything. So to find a woman that's of same or equal value as men, you're not gonna find it, or anybody's gonna name it off head. But we can name right now, from what I pulled up, of the so-called alleged most successful women, rich, etc., net worth, you know, influence, power ranks, etc. And we go by Forbes, which a lot of us don't read Forbes, but we're gonna look at some data here. Rich woman from billionaires, self-made, and inheritance. Alice Walton, and that is a woman that is part or inherits some from the Walton family from Walmart. They're philanthropists, Crystal Bridge Museum, large art patron in U.S. history, inheritance philanthropy. Next is, what's her name? Francos Betancourt Mayors is a Heron lead family empire, major donor to science, or Lee Orin Herons. I don't know what that is. Julian Koch. Koch Industries, Windows, expand chemical energy portfolio, etc. Oh, and I forgot to tell you net worth. Net worth of the first woman in 2025, Alice Walton. She is net worth of $106 billion. Second was Francos, $999 billion. Julian Koch, $74 billion. Next, Jacqueline Mars, $55 billion. Mars Inc. co-owner of overseas $400 billion Caney Empire. Okay. Dana Hendricks, $22 billion. ABC Supply founder, CEO, self-made roofing billionaire, top female entrepreneur in construction. Rihanna Ruby Fenty. Oh, she made the list. And mind you, she did not create Fenty. She is only the name, the image. The person that made Fenty is the one that's making more money than Rihanna. To people don't know, she did not create the uniform or create the lingerie. She's not the creator of that. For those who know, she is a part owner of the person that's the head of Fenty. For people who don't know, she's net worth at $1.5 billion. Fenty Beauty, Savage X Fenty founder, first black billionaire, Viva Cosmetics. Okay, so her front, she's the first one in cosmetics. Next, Oprah Winfrey, $3 billion, which, you know, they should range is better than this. Media mogul, own network, harp, product, etc. Now, next, and we're gonna pause here because I want to continue on with the tape. We're gonna go to the most powerful woman in business, Fortune. And like I said, we're gonna learn something today, guys. We're gonna learn something. Let's go.
Is my number one priority. I would say having kids made me more secure than ever before. I just don't care about the noise. None of it matters anymore. And also, I have real stake in this fight. Before, these were just ideas. America shouldn't be run like this. This is why, this is what's bad. Once you have kids, you have actually a real stake in the future of America. So when I am podcasting, the subjects that I am covering to me are existential, right? Are we being ruled by pedophiles and criminals? That's now existential for me. What is happening in the school systems? What is happening in these churches? What is going on? This is now existential because my children will inherit the America that I fight for or the America that I remain silent about.
And just to kind of finish off with the feminism real quick. So what do you think are the top 3 things holding women back from fulfillment and happiness right now?
The number one thing I would say that's holding women back would be not understanding the history of feminism. I think once you know that, everything, like, knowledge is actually power. I would say the second thing that's holding them back is the psychology of peer pressure. And that is the psychology, and the peer pressure starts when we are in school, with women being told, you have to go to college, you have to have a career. The last thing you should be thinking about, you have plenty of time. You don't actually have plenty of time. Biologically speaking, you literally don't have plenty of time. Men might have plenty of time, biologically speaking, but your body is telling you don't. And so I think, and then that kind of gets into the education. The education system truly is just Soviet propaganda in the classrooms. So those would be the top 2 things. And so they're ignoring their gut instinct and following the herd.
So understanding what feminism is and how it came into place makes it a lot easier to understand everything else. All right, fair enough. What do you think?
Okay, I missed a lot. I had to step away. But they catch some about, the time a lot of women have. And Candace was right. I think she had her first kid while she's still in her 20s, I believe. Because they said she has 4 now. So I think she kind of packed it in. I'm not sure how long she got married, but she got out of the game very sudden, which is smart on her. And but yeah, the school system, even now, you see these stupid women now putting out propaganda, talking about their eggs hold longer than anything else, and the man's sperm is degenerate. No, baby, no. You can sit there, play games with yourself, and think that science is going to make you stay around and go around the cock carousel, but it's not going to save the fact that your time is not with you. It's not favored to you, and it's proven evident. Now, should I say most women should have kids while in your 20s? That's optional. But you should always think what you want to see yourself. And it's kids in the future. If so, you better have them suckers now. And hope that you're married by the time you have these suckers. But that's not a story. Now, part 2 of this, the other part of this I'm about to read now, before I continue on the tape, is the most powerful women in business. Fortune 2005 ranking. Mary Barra, CEO of General Motors. GM, I didn't know that. Jane Fraser, CEO of Citigroup. First woman led major U.S. banking of 78 billion revenue. And Mira Barra is navigating EV transition Truffles and GM, which is worth 170 billion revenue allocated to women's STEM. Rosalind Brewer, executive chair, Walgreens Boot Alliance, retail turnaround expert at 128 billion revenue, mentor to Black women leaders. So this is a Black woman, Rosalind Brewer of Walgreens. Tosadan Brown, CEO TIA, 1.3 T assets under management and divestment initiative. I think that's trillion. I'm gonna look her up. She sounds familiar. Julian Sweets, CEO of what do you call it? Ancienture, 64 billion revenue, AI, etc. Leadership, global woman, etc. Hannah Al Rostimin, I pronounced that right. She is CEO of the first Abu Dhabi bank. And the bank is worth 150 billion assets. Safra Katz, CEO of Oracle. That's the tech company, Oracle. For those that don't know, you get your JavaScript and all that stuff. She is the CEO. There 53 billion revenue, cloud, AI pioneer, low profit, master tech. Anna Botin, executive chair, Banco Stantler. Revenue, upwards of 60 billion revenue, global banking innovator. Patrice Heems, CEO, architect of Federal Service. U.S. government contract, 15 billion, cybersecurity expert. Wilshman Kawara, CEO of Vertec Pharmaceuticals, 10 billion revenue, gene therapy, etc. we'll stop right there. And there's still more of a list. I got well, there's two more, but we're gonna stop there. We're gonna see on the tape. I gotta stop this time, Kino. This is not a long stream because this conversation they have is not that long. But let's keep going.
So far about this switching politics, what do you think so far about this administration with Trump?
Look at that.
Good, bad, the ugly.
Sad. Honestly, the first thing that I would say is that it makes me sad because obviously I spent a lot of time helping Trump get elected, trying to help Trump get elected, and Trump is...
I see a photo right here, yeah.
Yeah, he's a part of my political story, right? A part of my political awakening, if you want to call it that. And it feels to me like when he said, what Epstein files, you know? Are we still talking about the Epstein files? It was just like we were so close. We did everything we could. And we were supposed to be fighting a swamp. And then what happened? What the Loch Ness monster, which is Israel, rose up and swallowed our hero whole. So it makes me sad. And I think we all can very clearly see what has happened on the basis of who is now supporting him. The literal Never Trump movement is now supporting Trump and telling us that we're radicals, the people who initially supported Trump. So there's been a complete flip, and they're trying to use this mechanism of psychology to convince us, oh, we just got here, but we noticed this rot, which is the original MAGA movement. It's completely ridiculous. Their tactics aren't working. But I think it also indicates to us that there is something very scary and sinister that is in DC, right? That turns good men, it like petrifies good men that go in maybe with the best of intentions. And then they see something else. Like, what happens to these people? We don't know. Like, where is, I mean, day in and day out, Kash Patel and Dan were saying, we're going to do this. We get to the FBI. Now they look petrified. They look petrified, actually. There's nothing here, actually, to see about these Epstein files. What are you talking about? You kind of made your show off of what needed to happen with the Epstein files. So it's sad.
So if you were to...
But here's the sad truth that people don't know. And they did say they're going to release now the Epstein files. I'm going to tell y'all this personally for those that will catch this replay. Trump is still going to stay in office regardless of the outcome of Epstein's files. How I know? Because, you know, presidents that were found out being associated or doing things that is uncharacteristic in the White House still stay in the White House. Have you noticed that? I'm not found the one president that was successfully impeached from office. The one person that was successfully impeached was I think Nixon. Ronald Nixon? Nixon was the only person I know that was successfully impeached. But every other person after that never was impeached. They said threatened to impeachment. They said they were going to impeach somebody. But when we look at the end of the day, they still hold over office for the full term, which is 2 terms. Clinton did 2 terms. Nor his second term when he got caught with that Monica Lewinsky scandal, when she, you know, and then eventually, who else? Even with Trump, I don't think he's going to lose any presence of the White House, much less get impeached. They try to impeach him when it's in his first term, and he's still there. So stop it. All right, let's go.
Grade him, because people have asked me this question, so now I get to ask someone else. What grade would you give him right now at this point, based on, you know, obviously the Epstein files? I agree with you. It's a huge debacle. It's going to probably be a huge negative in his legacy at the end of the day. If you had to grade his presidency of so far within what we're 11 months in roughly, what would you say?
So I would say I'm biased. So if you're asking me to grade, you know how you would have those teachers where if you would take a test and they would automatically flunk you if you didn't put your name on the paper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Epstein thing for me is like automatic flunk if you don't put your name on the paper, right?
Gotcha.
So if like I'm a mom now, so this was the most important thing to me, was figuring out where the pedophiles are in our society. And
that was your number one voting.
This for me, becoming a mother, because you have to remember Epstein, and I did a partial series, a mini series on what we discovered about him. He just got pulled to the ranks, right? Bankrupted Americans. Same thing with the Maxwell family, bankrupted people in England, and was allowed to do this. He had absolutely no background. He was given access to children. He had an office on Harvard campus, despite only having a high school diploma, which I can't even verify his high school diploma, if I'm being honest with you. And this was going to show us everything. He had access to Hollywood. He was working with Weinstein. He had some notorious fight with Harvey Weinstein right before Harvey went down. So now I'm kind of going back in my mind and thinking that's a question I should probably ask Harvey Weinstein, is what they were fighting about. And he had access to models. I mean, this man was just handed the keys to Les Wexner's empire, which even how that empire started has got a shady story with a guy who said that Les Wexner was the literal devil. He was the guy who controlled Victoria's Secret. He said, this man is evil. And then suddenly that guy jumps off the Golden Gate Bridge and decides to give his company to Les Wexner. That doesn't really make sense. So we had this rare opportunity to really understand how the Matrix was put together, in my view. And Trump took us to this line and then balked. And I'm not sure why he did. Okay. Maybe it's because he almost survived his assassination attempt. He survived his assassination attempt.
Yeah, two of them.
Two of them. And maybe they put him in a room and said, here's how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try not to judge him because I don't know what he is going through. But for me, the Epstein files was a name on the paper.
So what are your thoughts on the current news? Because it just resurfaced again.
Now, I respect that she want to know who's on the file because she has children, and she want to know that people that, if she ever come across, was involved of dealing with children in a very much egregious manner. You can go as far as sexually, unfortunately. But the problem is, to Miss Owens, you do not understand Eurocentric history. Now, everybody could say this is all his. No, you must go understand your enemy and understand him well, because he studies you daily, but you do not study him. His track record shows that he loves dealing with children. Matter of fact, do I have to play the video from Dessalines of the 2977 of the amount of sexual assault or sexual abuse of these men doing with children? And that's just recent. But we don't go into literature history of them and how they move. And there are many books that talk about this degenerate behavior. But we have to have the honest conversation. Knowing who is who helps, but if you don't understand the nature of people, especially nature of races of people, especially races of certain men, European men especially, everything else will confuse you. But I forgot, you married to one of them, so I take it you don't really invest too much time and energy into the history because you're very much delusional, and this is the honest truth. And for those that don't like it, I'm sorry, I gotta be honest. Let's go.
They're, in the process right now of getting everything classified. I understand that there were a bunch of emails that came out. And it's coming back up again. I can tell because I'm seeing nothing but CNN clips on it. Anytime they love to hit Trump when it comes to this Epstein thing.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the latest information that came out recently with the emails and everything else like that?
When he initially balked on discussing Epstein and Pam Bondi did the whole crazy bit, I was told that it was because there was donors he was protecting, and that makes sense to me. I have never felt, and I'm a pretty good vibe person, Trump's not into kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the nature of the emails, was he at a party when people should just think about that. When people say, oh, they exchanged, like he was on his plane, never on the island, but like was on.
No, and you're right, Mike. You could rightfully say that, but when we look at history is the best indicator of all results. That percentage, because they use percentage a lot on black folks, especially black men, about the violence and stuff. You got to put the same thing on them in regards to potential of messing with underage kids. So in regards, if you don't think he has done it or not, I go by the numbers out there, like they put on most of you, Candace, and on other black men. We got to keep it fair and reasonable on all boards. So I don't leave nothing on the table. And trust me, maybe you might find some woman here might say something that he did some decades ago, but Trump might pay her off, and then we'll never know about it of anybody coming out. So you got to use your common sense at this point to know the history of your opponent, to really have a real deep assessment and to make your own conclusions. That's the best way to go. All right, let's go.
on the plane or was at a party. If you were at a, I mean, you live in Miami. If you were at a party, the
Yeah.
idea that somebody could be at any club that you are at or any
Yeah.
party that you are at has somebody that's underage and looks like she could be 18, and
Yep.
that doesn't really track to me as
Yeah.
any evidence of anything other than the fact that he was at a party once and Jeffrey Epstein was very clearly running a sophisticated network and a blackmail ring. So I don't think that whatever they have on Epstein with Trump and Epstein is going to implicate Trump in any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been around him. Trump has a type, and I have never felt that vibe from him at all. But I do think he's protecting some of his donors. I do believe that because I look at them and they just creep me out. And he took a lot of money from Miriam Adelson, the Adelson family, hundreds of millions of dollars from Miriam Adelson. And I think that's kind of the beginning of everything. So when they start.
Oh, I see more people watching in the building. Please, guys, hit the like button. If you have any questions, put in the super chat. Or if you want a question, you must subscribe to the channel. Either or. I'll take your questions here if you want to challenge what's Candace saying on the air, if she's right on the mark or she's wrong. Is your thoughts, your opinions? Please subscribe or hit super chat. Let's go.
Started leaking these emails, I read it as like a public threat to him. Maybe they're arguing about something in the background and he's holding a line on something. So because they obviously have all the Epstein stuff. He was their blackmail guy, you know? And so if people don't listen, they probably do a little trickle. That's how I read it. I read it as like a public threat and they want something from him and they're going to be like, capitulate or we will hit you with everything they have. And we need to have a leader that just comes right out in a press conference and says, they have this about me. They've been threatening me with it. I'm going to tell them to release everything and I'm going to hold the line. People would cheer. We wouldn't even care. We'd be like, okay, like as long as you're not implicated in harming children, right? I can deal with you being at a party that Epstein was at and finding out that whatever it is that they have on you. That's my gut instinct about the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that I think he doesn't give me the vibe that he's like doing that type of thing with children. But I do think that maybe there's something in there that looks really bad optically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's might be why, or to protect donors, like you said, because I look at it like if there was something really bad like that, the Democrats would have exposed that during the Biden administration if there really was. So, that's another thing as well. Speaking of the Zionist lobby, we're talking about Myron Gaines and Epstein and everything else like that. Last time we spoke, you were literally like a week or two before you left Daily Wire. It's been a while now. And obviously a lot of things have transpired, right? You've had a meteoric rise. Congratulations. Meanwhile, your opposition, Ben Shapiro, has had a meteoric downfall. Can you kind of take me through that day of what happened when, because I remember you had been in Miami for a bit, and then I think you might have went back to Daily Wire for like a day or two, and then they said, hey, we're going to get rid of you, blah, blah, blah. Can you kind of take me through how that all transpired and how you've been able to kind of use that cancellation from their perspective to just utterly destroy them and flip the roles?
So, gosh, I was fired in, March of 2024, and I obviously was very surprised about it. I did not know it was coming. Look, even if I sensed it was coming, I would have never have thought that it would have happened in the way that it happened. I would have thought that we would do everything that we can to keep things friendly. I mean, you don't want to work for any company. It's just unprofessional to want to dedicate years of your life to any company and not have things, even if they're not on great terms, you still want to make it as peaceful as possible.
TMZ reported, and I have to ask you this because I've always been wanting to ask you this. They reported that one of the reasons why they wanted to get rid of you is because you did the show with us. And when we talked about Jews, we hit the sound effect, the cha-ching sound effect, and I guess that infuriated Ben Shapiro. Is that true? Or
I know where that leak came from.
Okay.
And it came, gosh, am I allowed to say anything about this? She no longer works for the Daily Wire, and I think she was behind that leak. Yeah, so she no longer works for the Daily Wire. So that was interesting. I can neither confirm or deny whether or not that is true.
Okay.
But what I will say is I would have never expected that sort of a PR. I mean, it's just the opposite of the way that I am. I mean, I've worked with several companies. I've worked with PragerU. I have obviously a lot of disagreements with them now, but I had a very peaceful.
PragerU, that little YouTube channel that talks about things about history, institution and all that stuff. It's a good channel, but you guys got to keep an open mind when you mess around with certain channels because there's a lot of misinformation if you're not open minded when you watch these channels on YouTube. Let's go.
peaceful working relationship with them. They treated me fantastically. I've said this 1,000 times. Like, when I think about them now and what their contributions are to what we're fighting, I could never go back and say like one bad word about how they treated me. They were really good employers and very communicative. I ever had an issue. I mean, I think my contract with PragerU was like 2 pages. I'm not even kidding. It was crazy. Marissa never even wanted to talk about contracts. She's like, if we ever have to talk about the contract, she was like, you should probably leave because like I don't want you here if you're not happy.
Yeah.
Obviously had a very great relationship with Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA. So for me, having never had any sort of a debacle ever in my life, in terms of working for people, it was new, it was global, there was so much happening, and I didn't know if we were going to survive it. Genuinely, my husband and I, it felt like it's like trench warfare. Your every move, you're not even thinking about the implications. It's like, I just have to put one foot in front of the other and fight. And I first and foremost just grateful to God that my husband was just rock solid. I think if my husband had shown even a fraction of apprehension, fear, anything, I probably would have come apart. And this again gets back to the importance of marriage, because there are things that men are designed to deal with. Women are designed, like I was good on the psychology games of what they were trying to do, but in terms of just getting down and building the infrastructure and like, okay, we need to rebuild the podcast. We got to do this. We got to figure this out. We laugh now. I mean, even because my team came with me, which was something that was also a huge blessing. I'm so grateful to my team, because I went to them and I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. We can't offer you health insurance. We have nothing. So if you leave the comfort of where you are taking a risk.
Yeah. And
we don't know where this thing is going to end. And also we're like being banned from society also. So the chances of this podcast working when we're banned from everywhere, even YouTube demonetized us. It was slim to none. And they were just like, we're coming with you. So to look back on that, it's just a tremendous amount of gratitude and appreciation for the audience, my team, and first and foremost, my husband, So
he helped you through that process. Because I remember like it was all over the place, and obviously there was an enormous amount of pressure, but you were able to use that to your favor. You get let go from Daily Wire, you start up your own thing. And, obviously this topic is a very controversial topic when it comes to Zionism, Jewish power, and these other things. And it led to some things. What red pilled you on this topic that made you say, I got to speak up? Even though this is a very taboo topic, you could get, like you said, deal with demonetization, cancellation, losing an employer. What made you say, I got to speak up on this?
And this is the thing that, in my opinion, has to be examined. Because my weirdest thing about Candace is, you work for a man that was from, I think he's from Israel. I think what's his name? The guy that runs Daily Wire. Yeah. Ben Shapiro. He's Jewish. So why would compel you to talk about someone else's religion and he pays your bills? I just don't get that. That's the thing that it baffles me, that if you're going to talk shit, at least have something that's your own or aside from the person you work for. Why will you talk that stuff and he's paying your bills? Write you a check. That's the problem with what it baffles me with a lot of people, that you don't bite the hand that feeds you. I think that was in that's certain page or chapter somewhere in the Art of War, or what they call 48 Laws of Power, about the king and stuff. I forgot what it was, but there was an old saying that talks about this. But you did that, and I'm confused because he pays for you. So in my opinion, you were out of line at the time, and you knew this. You already know what's going on in the Middle East and what America has been doing in regards to what goes over there. For you to make those comments and statements, I mean, it's more than career suicide. I think you just came to the point you just don't give a F. And that's why you got the backlash you did, because you bit the hand that pays your bills. That's how you have to look at it. So I'm sorry, guys, got to just lay it out, because I find it weird that anybody would do some stupid shit like that. And Candace she seems like a woman that really you just wanted to start shit for no reason. Let's go.
I want to get into heaven. And I think people don't realize that that's real. Like, I think people who are atheists don't understand that a part of this whole psych operation was to make you an atheist, because if you knew for certain that when you die, there is more, which there is, you would be living your life differently, right? I want to get into heaven. And so at the very moment that I know anything is true, I can't tell a lie, right? So when I was working, and giving the example again for PragerU, I genuinely, first off, wasn't up on the topic of Israel. It wasn't kind of a common discussion. There was no pressure on me to get out there and say things that are pro-Israel. I just genuinely believed it, in the same way that I tell people Charlie Kirk just believed it. There's no conspiracy. He just was like, yeah, Israel, I'm a Christian. And obviously Israel has biblical connotations, and so I support Israel almost like it's a periphery.
Yeah, it's like
in
a default setting.
Yeah,
when
it's
you're
a
in the
default setting. Yeah,
literally. Yeah, in the
it's a factory
GOP
setting.
Yeah,
and people who attack that and assume that everyone's in on an agenda should stop doing that. At the moment that it kind of became and I would say after October 7th, they were kind of demanding that you take a side. I watched Bassem Youssef. This was truly the mental turning point for me. He went on to Piers Morgan and it went viral. And he held up this paper where he showed how many deaths there were every year of Palestinians versus Israelis. And I will never unsee that. And he was being totally a jackass about it, was just kind of using humor, which is the best tool.
Yeah, right there. Like you said, Kanye number 2. Oh yeah, that's right. Ross 11. Yep, indeed. If you guys want to leave a comment, please subscribe to the channel, or you can put in super chat. I'll read it and read it in front. Please, guys, be mindful with the language if possible. Let's go.
And being like, so what's the equation of how many lives are worth? So I'm going, okay, so I'm supposed to believe these are the evil people, but this is how many people. And then I had Norm Finkelstein on my show at the Daily Wire, because I was like, let me go to someone who actually is not an anti-Semite, right? His parents survived the Holocaust, and he's a professor who was denied tenure for a ridiculous reason because he's committed to telling the truth about Gaza, and he wrote so many books on it. And that to me was like, wow.
So that like red pilled you on the topic, like seeing the deaths and everything, because no one ever sees like the Palestinian perspective, because it's like almost like in America, well, especially if you're a conservative, the default setting is we support Israel unequivocally every single time, and you never even hear the other perspective. So, and I've said that too, like October 7th kind of opened up this discussion, whereas like I remember before it, like if you talked about it, you would get demonetized, banned. That's what got me demonetized was that topic, especially before October 7th. So you start talking about it. I remember you had debated a rabbi, I can't remember his name.
A couple of them. There was Rabbi Shmuley, and then there was
that idiot and the other
who
one.
was, oh gosh, I have to remember his name. He was my favorite. Candace.
Yeah.
This is the worst anti-Semitism. He actually was low-key my favorite because he was so over the top.
Oh, yeah.
He was so over the top. And he was like, you can't even say, what was it, witches? Skylar, what was the name of that rabbi? Barclay, Rabbi Barclay. That was his name.
And I think that was one of your last debates you did on Daily Wire too. I think you were still on the Daily Wire there. Did Ben ever like have a conversation with you about this, if you could disclose it? Like
no.
he just like never talked to you in person about this. He just like trashed you. Because I remember seeing a clip of him like at some type of social gathering, like late in the year of that year, saying, "Oh yeah, I think what she's doing is despicable, blah blah blah." But he had never had a conversation with you.
No, and after that, we never had a conversation.
Wow.
So that happened, and that's we never had a conversation after that. So
he didn't even have the decency to like figure out, hey, what's going on here, have a conversation. You're just like,
I tried.
Yeah.
It never happened. So
wow. Okay. So you got banned from Australia. Right? You got banned from Australia.
It's a gangster.
Yeah.
Almost,
and I
right?
was like,
super bad.
Because people try to tell me like, because I talk about world Jewry being a thing and how, it's an international cabal that works together, for the betterment of Israel, and they're located all across the world. And I use that example of how they got you literally banned in Australia, even though they represent like 2% of the population. How did that even happen? Like, how'd you get notified? Like, yeah, how'd that even come about?
I was going to tour in Australia, and the Zionist lobby found out, and they publicly posted, it was like the Zionist Organization of Australia, maybe it was ZOA, publicly posted this thing.
Like their equivalent of AIPAC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially.
Yeah. It's another AIPAC. There's so many of Zionist organizations. And I will say, on the conservative side of Australia, the Jewish conservatives did also write a letter in support of me saying, like, we disagree with her, but she should be allowed to speak. But they were effectively the ADL, and they posted this thing and publicly said that I should not be allowed in. My rhetoric was dangerous. They lied and said that I said that Jews, what did they say that I said? That Jews drink the blood of children, which was, I mean, it's just like completely.
The blood libel?
It was unbelievable. I mean, the way that came about was me liking a tweet, literally a like of a tweet of a person who called out Rabbi Shmuley.
And it goes back again, because you work for a particular one, this is why you get the backlash. I'm not saying that any person should be afraid of backlash, but you gotta know what you're getting into. And yeah, she's a Kanye part 2. And I find her cancellation a little bit weird. I don't know if y'all guys agree with me or not. I think hers is a little weirder. I'm just saying. But other than that, my thing is this. Candace is a unique woman, and she talking about going to heaven. A lot of people don't understand between heaven and hell, the stories of it, whether it exists or not. If you are a person that is not doing anything harm amongst yourself or amongst your group or doing anything, you don't have to worry about the possibility of going into heaven. But like I said, the possibility. But if you're not living the best or living right, then yeah, that should be concerned. Like a real concern. But overall, like I said, with her, she's a very unique person. All right, let's keep going.
And said Rabbi Shmuley had told a huge lie about me. So they were replying to Rabbi Shmuley and said, you didn't include that she, and then like told the truth about what I said. And then they ended their thing with, are you drunk on Christian blood again? So me liking this tweet,
yeah,
they went full media press corps. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Candace says, I'm like, are you kidding me? It was so obvious why I liked this tweet. Like this person debunked Rabbi Shmuley's lie, but this is how they lie.
Yeah.
This is how they lie.
And they take everything literal.
They take
even
everything
if it's hyperbole
literally
or whatever. It's like, oh, look at you, vile anti-Semite.
Yeah. And I'm like, obviously I like this tweet because he defended, he pointed out that Rabbi Shmuley told a ridiculous lie that had nothing to do with anything. Rabbi. Yeah, he said that my followers threatened to kill him or something very serious. And he was like, you're showing this inbox.
And didn't he try to sue you for that?
No, he threatened to sue.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was quite a time, but they successfully got me banned. I've never been in trouble, nothing. And they decided that I am too dangerous to speak in their country. So that I still think, and this has been my belief, everything that is happening, God wants to happen. So when that happened, it was because Australians needed to understand something about their country. Because people who didn't like me, who didn't support me, or weren't conservative in their country kind of looked up and went, why is this like mom of 4 being banned from our country? No matter what I think about her, I certainly don't think she's a threat, that she shouldn't be allowed in. And we've got literally people who have been accused of murder, people who have violated their visas in other countries, people that rap about murder are allowed in here. And you're telling me she's saying something that's so dangerous. And it, I think, contributed to more people listening to my podcast. What is she saying? So I do feel we are in this time where the more that they lie, it rebounds very quickly onto them and it creates more pressure against them. And they can't stop lying. So
yeah, because you can never lie once, right? Like they always say, when you lie once, then you have to keep lying to perpetuate that same lie.
Right.
So New Zealand also banned you, right? And then you were able to get, how'd you go about being allowed to come back to New Zealand? Did they write a petition or how'd that happen?
No, actually their person, so they have a reciprocal system, which is weird, but if Australia bans you, you get automatically banned in New Zealand. So New Zealand didn't actually ban me. Tony Burke in Australia banned me and they have some weird reciprocal system. Then when they found out, their minister, and his name was Chris something, I should remember it, was like, I'm just against this, and he reversed it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he had the power to reverse it. So New Zealand actually stood firm on free speech.
Okay, I didn't know that. So like basically when one party does something, the other one kind of reciprocates it, but they do have some type of veto power. What other ways, I guess, has the Zionist lobby came after you? I've seen ADL articles. I've seen SPLC, right? They target me too.
Oh gosh, it was everything. It was everything. They
Did the lobby get you demonetized on YouTube too?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That came from
that's
the awesome Jew.
Yep.
The awesome Jew, who was in attendance, by the way, when Charlie got peer pressure in the Hamptons.
Mm.
And yeah, it was just a full court. They were like, just start mass reporting her for violence and violent rhetoric. And they did that. And then I had no strikes. And then I went to all strikes overnight. And YouTube demonetized us. We were demonetized for 6 months, I think. It was like September, maybe it was 4 months. And so that was, can't make any money on YouTube. So we had to
Feel that pain.
yeah, we had to then build our own website, which we did.
Mm-hmm.
So what it forces you to do is to become your own power center, right? If you ban people everywhere and you say you can't, you're not allowed to fight in this realm, we're going to start building our own realms. And I think they're learning that lesson, is that there seems to be the opposite thing that's happening. So they would attack us on YouTube. They obviously got petitioned to get me fired, banned from Australia. They went after like my family members. Obviously, they tried to pretend that there was all this friction between me and my husband's father, and that could not be further from the truth. I love my husband's family. They have always treated me very well, but they wanted that narrative out there because it was part of the cancellation. Is even her own family hates her. No, we have different viewpoints. Yeah. People can support Israel. People cannot support Israel. You don't marry into ideas.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
All right. Hold on. I'm looking at something. Okay. Well, I was looking at, guys. And I see my comment. Ross11, you're going to have to put that in super chat. It did not go through Google. That means it's not supposed to be read. So if you want that read, which is post a while ago, you got to put that in super chat. All right, let's keep going.
Of course, there's nothing wrong having disagreements. But.
Right. And I'm just thinking what else they attacked. It's been nonstop. And then of course the lawsuits, nonstop legal lawfare.
So right now, between you, Tucker, Nick, they're attacking all three of you guys, saying, "Oh, you guys are anti-Semites and you guys are pushing this whole thing." And I give credit because you three have done an incredible job of, awareing the American public on this topic when it comes to Israel's control of the Middle East, what they're doing over there, how they've been able to get away with this for so long, killing people and no one knowing. And, they've been targeting you guys quite a bit. And I see that, there's been a bunch of drama with Megyn Kelly and Ben Shapiro and everything else like that. What are your thoughts on the on the situation? Because anytime they mention Tucker, you're right there, right? When it comes to the criticism of Israel. Yeah,
even Bibi Netanyahu name checking us was crazy.
Yeah.
On the TikTok thing and why they needed to buy TikTok, they're letting you know this is a psychological operation. That's what they're telling you. They've gone masked down, and they've just come more inward. I have no idea why they kept attaching me to Tucker Carlson. They wanted both of us gone, and
Mark Levin loves you.
Yeah, I know. They force fired Tucker. They force fired me, and then they realized, we can't control them, and we started having to build our own power centers, and they didn't like that.
And they made you guys bigger.
Exactly. So, and then with the Nick Fuentes thing, I promise you, I had never heard the Nick Fuentes backstory until after I was fired from Daily Wire. There was this Twitter audio or X audio space that he did with Jeremy Boring, who at that time was the CEO of Daily Wire. And I heard the backstory and I was like, this is insane. Like, what happened to him? Nobody can look at that backstory of what happened to him and not realize that it was just evil.
They did everything they can to contain him. It's ridiculous.
It's like he had his life ahead of him. And so you kind of root for that. You're like, no matter how I feel about him, I root for him against the Zionist lobby. And this rule that you can't speak to Nick, why can't I speak to Nick? Can't my audience decide whether or not they want to listen to him? There's this false idea of platforming him, that somehow that's going to be harmful. And
there goes the man of the hour, Mr. Mary Brown. How you doing, Mary? Hope everything's going well. Make sure you guys like the stream and share the stream. Yeah, man, she's going in, man. Candace Owens is going right into the meat of the things of what really happened from her perspective, from her eyes, I think that with what's the name? Nick Fuentes, he is picking up steam. He has the same views about what's really going on outside America, and he's got censored. I heard that he's been picking up steam lately on social media again. I mean, I don't agree with this young man personally, because he has his own views about what is reality. He says a lot of living to do. But personally, he's like any other media outlet that's debunking what's out here in these streets. So if y'all watching, that's y'all business. All right, let me see if the comment posts. All right, let me look. Let me read that. Let's see. Okay, guys said we have history of men going against the machine or system. And the system reports to the people they are. Yeah, I mean that's the price of doing anything. That is a possibility that might happen to you. Oh yeah, you did. Oh yeah, you did, Mary. You did. All right, let's keep playing.
You can't platform him. If I platform him and Nick seems likable, right? And then he goes on his show and he says horrific things, and my listeners then go over to his show, they're not going to keep listening to Nick.
Yeah.
They're actually then going to have questions about me.
Yeah. Let the people decide.
Let the people decide.
Yeah.
You don't get to think for people.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as platforming ideas. If people are following that idea, that is on the people. And they are smart enough to make their own decisions. I don't need to tell people to listen to Nick, to not listen to Nick, to platform Nick, to not platform Nick. If I want to talk to Nick, I'll talk to Nick. If I don't want to talk to Nick, I don't talk to Nick. And there's something about the true free markets that Zionists can't stand. They're constantly manipulating the markets so that people think that they are number one, and they're not. They actually require censorship in order for them to be number one.
Yeah, and that's their game. And and you know, I seeing Ben Shapiro have a meltdown. You know, they had the Republican Jewish Coalition a couple weeks ago, and just saying like, oh, these people are platforming whatever. I find it interesting how like they never like. Because when you guys, if you actually listen to the interviews that you guys do a lot of the times, it's like, oh, this makes perfect sense. I understand like why you have this worldview. They never criticize what you guys talk about, right? They always criticize you guys directly, saying they're pushing anti-Semitism. Well, what are they saying that's anti-Semitic? Oh, well, it's just anti-Semitic. And they don't even want to have the discussion, the debate,
usually the truth
or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you hear Nick Fuentes' backstory, it's compelling. It just is. I was compelled when I heard it. I actually haven't gotten around to watching his interview with Tucker. It's on my to-do list this weekend, but I'm assuming he told his backstory.
Yep.
And then people look at it and go, what is up with the Zionist lobby that they're going after 18-year-old kids for questioning Israel? That's actually what they're fearful of, is people understanding just how long this has been going on, how vicious it is that it will even go after an 18-year-old who's just asking questions literally. And yeah, I think that's what it is. It's the mass awakening that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is mass awakening of information, and for good reason. It's because the control, and like any opposition, the whole end game is controlling you mentally, your mind, psychologically. It's not like most people today are awakened. I think more people today, in my opinion, are going to sleep more than ever, and instead of seeing the forest for the trees and seeing the real reality that all truths are revealed now. All what you see or question is here now. Is what you're gonna do now that your eyes are wide open, and that's what's scary with a lot of people. So yeah, these people that they call Jews are gonna do what they're gonna do. It is what it is. It's part warfare. And one thing they do, because besides the physical, they're always going to do things psychologically and even go as financially if needed. But what you gonna do? Candace know the game. She played it, and in my opinion, she lost in a way, because you're not no bigger than you are now. And trust me, if we know you're bigger now, we would know, because you'll be circulating more. People will be talking about you more. And trust me, social media is a big platform. Nothing you say or do, no one will catch it, Miss Owens. So in my opinion, yeah, they're doing their work to try to keep the pressure off them, but it's all of no avail, because people eventually are going to do two things. Either they're going to awaken or go back to sleep. And it's far beyond these little stupid catchphrases like woke and nonsense. And do y'all know the opposite of woke is to go back to bed, right? Just saying. All right, let's go.
No, and you know, I credit you, Tucker, Nick, some of the biggest voices in it, like waking people up to this problem that we've had for so long, right? I mean, it got us into wars. And I do think that we're making an impact on it because I remember when Trump bombed Iran, he had a lot of pressure on him not to do it, right? And he was like kind of going back and forth. I know Steve Bannon had like went to the White House and told him don't do it or at least push it off a little bit. And he bombed him and then he ended it there, right? Who knows if he didn't have that pressure from his base to not go to war, if he had it would have expanded the conflict, because we know Israel wanted to, right? If this was like 2003, who knows if we wouldn't have just gone into like a full-on war. But I think big voices in social media that we didn't have back in 2003 were able to kind of pressure like, hey, we voted for no wars. Like, and then it kind of forced them to be like, I want to keep the base. All right, just bomb them and get out of here. Because that was even very unpopular.
And then you saw the neocons go, oh, you were panicking. It was just going to be and the whole time you guys were just panicking. And it was just one response. You thought there was going to be a broader war. And John Miller put it quite succinctly he tweeted and he said, no, it's because we panicked and freaked out that this didn't happen. This is like saying robbers outside trying to rob your house, your dogs start barking and the robber goes away and they're like, oh, you were just panicking. It's like, no, it's because the dogs were barking that this thing didn't happen. So no, every time which by the way, he still wants his war with Iran. They still want a regime change in Iran. And we have to continue to bark and continue to say that it's not okay. And it worked because we held the line on it and used our platforms to say, this is the red line. Yeah, no wars. And he literally was very ambiguous about it for days. So, and I think a big part of that is from all the pressure from his base with people that have big platforms. And this is kind of a beautiful thing where we have with alternative media, because I remember, and you remember too, we're right around the same age, the Iraq war, there was no dissent. Right. We're going and nobody cares. And we don't, there was no one else talking about it. The news was super pro-war. Everyone wanted to go to war. And it wasn't until 10, 15 years later that the smoke evaporated and we're like, oh, this was a waste of time. Why did we go to Saddam? Has nothing to do with bin Laden. Like, it didn't make sense. So let me ask you about, I guess, real quick with Harvey Weinstein. What got you interested in like getting his story out there? So actually, I started working on the Harvey Weinstein documentary when I was at the Daily Wire, which, somebody on his team reached out to me because they thought that I would be the only person that would look at this fairly, which is interesting because obviously he's gave millions to the ADL. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we were this very unlikely duo.
And again, I'm looking at the comment section in the chat room. If it's not pulled up in Google, I am not going to read it. And one thing, you put in some type of emoji. I'm not sure what it is. Looks interesting. But I'll read this one. They're putting something in the food and the water. It makes me sleep. Yeah. You always got to check what's in your water and the food you consume. That's your responsibility. All right, let's go.
And I thought he was guilty. I thought there had to have been some guilt. I mean, there were so many women that were coming out. But this is how the media is effective at psychology, is that they know if they say something over and over again, it becomes true. And actually, I realized I didn't know anything about the case. And when I took a look at it, I was shocked. There is no question that Harvey Weinstein should not be in prison right now. And that's the definition of Me Too right there. Yeah, they took him out. Yeah. Who took him out? Why they took him out? That part still is not clear to me, but it should terrify any woman, especially me who has 3 sons, that they can do that. I think Me Too, what it represented was hostile takeovers of companies. That's kind of a theme, right? If you start to go back, you look at from Michael Jackson to Kanye to Britney Spears, these are hostile takeovers of companies. And I think Me Too was a proliferation where they hostilely took over a bunch of companies. And that's my instinct about it. And he was big. So maybe he wasn't playing ball. I actually do now have it on my mind that I want to ask him about this argument he had with Jeffrey Epstein that I learned about. I was very passionate about just telling the truth because the Me Too movement is problematic. I have a real investment in this. I have sons. Yeah. So I don't care what people think or need to think. I'm not voting for him to be my husband. I'm not voting for him to be the president of the United States. I'm not voting for him to be my pastor. I'm telling you that he was accused of something and the media completely lied to you about the circumstances. And it should terrify you because it means that our courts are corrupted. And they are. We know that. We know our courts are corrupted. Why? Maybe through the same system of blackmail. They've got judges in their pockets. But there is, that's a part of the matrix. The court system is a part of it. And I give you credit because, you're very brave for doing that, because just like with the George Floyd documentary that you did, which was going against the grain, right? A lot of people gave you slack for that. Like, oh, why are you interviewing this, pervert? And why are you going ahead and, trying to destroy the legacy of George Floyd? So
I give you a lot of credit for because I do think that this whole Me Too situation and false accusations is very real.
It matters.
Athletes and professionals are constantly getting accused of stuff. I mean, we can look at what's going on with Andrew Tate, where, it's like every other month, something is getting dropped, or a lawsuit is being dropped here, or they're finding out that this woman lied here, or there was I think a pro soccer player that recently got out after having his life destroyed. So this Me Too thing is a huge problem in the Western world. So let me ask you this with Charlie Kirk, because you're definitely one of the most outspoken people when it comes to the Charlie Kirk investigation and what's going on there. Obviously, you knew him personally. You guys have worked together for many years. I'll kind of just turn it to you, and you can just tell me, because you've been looking at this for a while now. It's almost it's over 2 months now. Can you take us through what you think happened on that day? What led you to believe that? And the timeline in general, who you think is actually responsible, who might be covering things up and everything like that.
Yeah, so I can tell you that I view the Charlie Kirk assassination as a military hit. I do not know who called the hit yet, but it's military. There's no question in my mind that it was a military.
Or foreign, or?
Well, I don't view the U.S. military as being controlled by the U.S. I mean, there are a lot of people we've been globalized for a very long time. I don't know that there's a difference there's decisions that are made in Ukraine for America. I mean, this is the tentacles of the U.S. military.
Yep.
It's a much broader and longer conversation that needs to be had. I mean, I think since JFK was assassinated, I don't know who's in control of anything, right? Much of what we see in the political realm is just an illusion. We're talking about what's happening in Congress, and decisions are made in boardrooms, in my view. With Charlie, I think that with everything that I have uncovered, there was very clearly a faith infiltration that happened. And I'm putting faith in quotation marks, because Charlie would have believed the people that came to him and told him to grow the organization and, to become the boots on the ground for faith. He cared very deeply about his faith. And the cast of characters and the pastors that are around him, rotten, very rotten. The McCoys, Rob McCoy, unbelievably rotten. And I've been covering a lot with him. And what it's looking like is that Calvary Chapel has been accused of tons in the past, and also accused of hostilely taking over well-meaning faith organizations and ministries, with Rob McCoy at the center of some of these scandals. It's looking to me like Turning Point's apparatus provided.
Now, mind you guys, I never covered Charlie Kirk in regards to this conspiracy of who did the hit. All I know is when he got hit, I look at it like anybody else should look at it as a bigger distraction. Because let's be fair, honest, most people from social media or who doesn't really follow these people don't know these characters. The only people we know is probably Candace Owens and maybe some other influencer. But Charlie Kirk, no, man, not a lot of people, or black people generally, or anybody in general, really knew this dude, really. And he got his more notoriety through the college campus, debating college students. So that speaks for itself. Let's keep going.
An opportunity. Now, who they're actually working for, what they're actually doing, I don't know. But I can tell you it is not about Jesus Christ. Okay. And this would explain why, for some unknown reason, Christian Zionist influencers have been losing their minds about the idea of investigating the Charlie Kirk assassination. It's odd. I looked up and I'm going, why are Christian Zionists trying to use Bible verses to say that we shouldn't question anything? I mean, everybody knows you were a cop.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you do when there's been a murder is to look around at the money, the finances, and the people around them. Common sense. And then you pair that with the actual impossible things that they are telling us. It was a Christian miracle. His neck just stopped a 30-06 from 150 yards away. It was just your modern Christian miracle, That's Fed slop, but it's worse than that. It's Christian slop. People using the Bible to psychologically convince you, Jesus performed miracles, and this was just one of them. Charlie loved his faith. They're lying about weird stuff I consider it a clue that they are lying about where Charlie was at in terms of his faith journey. They lied about the Hampton Summit. They lied about the fact that he had said, I have no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause. I just watched them all lie because I needed to see where all the stakes were. These are weird lies.
Yeah.
The one thing that connects all of these lies is faith. So that's where the focus of my investigation is right now. And I'm coming up, looking and going, all of these characters are dirty that were around him. So you're not going to hold up a Bible like a false prophet and tell me not to look here, or else I'm going to be condemned to hell. Because let me tell you how the Bible works, okay? Christ is king. What that means is truth is king. And if anybody is using the Bible to tell you not to pursue truth, you are dealing with somebody who is manipulating you.
Who do you think, I guess, I know you said the people around him, but who do you think is the most responsible? Why would they want him gone?
I think Charlie was not allowed to be anything but a Christian Zionist. And he was changing in the last few weeks. When I look at the timeline that I put together, some weird stuff, this Egyptian plane that was started tracking him everything began ratcheting up after Tucker Carlson hit the stage. And
in July.
Mm-hmm,
Oh yeah, I was there for that. Yeah.
Yeah. That pissed
them off.
That was a something.
Yeah.
So I think Charlie was done, as Megan showed the video. He was telling Tucker to go max. All of the things that they lied about, we've now proven. And why were they lying about it? That's why this is the thing. Why lie if you have nothing to cover up? That's my common sense here. You only lie because you have something to cover up. No matter what the lie is you only lie because there's something that you're hiding. So if they had all come out right when Charlie died, if Seth Dillon, who pressed Charlie in the Hamptons, was like, oh my gosh, my biggest regret is the last time I saw Charlie, I was being such a jerk about the Israel. They were so stupid. And this is a reminder that you never know when you're going to see somebody last. It would have been like, oh, okay, nothing to see here. It was like a full court press effort to lie about everything. Josh Hammer, he never blinked on Israel. He was on the text message chain where Charlie said 48 hours before he died that he was done with the pro-Israel cause. Why lie? That's my question. And I don't like the silence from Turning Point employees. I know for a fact one of them, who I'm not going to name, has a text message from Charlie the day before he died saying, they are going to kill me.
Wow.
Now, he was not referring to the trans lobby when he wrote that message.
Yeah.
So why not present? If you are his friend and you're interested in the truth, why wouldn't you tell the public that? Wouldn't you just come right out to the public and say, hey, I don't know what happened, but like Charlie thought they were going to kill him. I do not like the way Turning Point is behaving. I've made that clear. And nobody is going to emotionally manipulate me and tell me that it's all good now. And to attack Turning Point would be to attack his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie told me years ago that he had, which I shared the messages, he was having a ton of visions and was telling me that Turning Point was going to be the death of him. He knew he was going to die young. And strangely knew that I was going to be the only person to defend him, right? I showed the messages.
Yeah.
I showed the messages.
They tried to say it was fake and you pulled it up and yeah.
So we're here. We're here now. And I'm going to defend him. I'm going to figure out what happened.
What are your...
I mean, good luck to that. If you're going to figure out what really happened to him. I mean, and you know, my thing, I don't think nothing's going to happen to Candace, in my opinion, because she's a woman and she's a black woman. And they're going to look and say, you Negro bad beat. What you have or what power you hold that's gonna make sense for people to know the truth. You know the saying, you can't handle the truth. They're really factual about that. And a lot of white people that's content creators that, let's be honest, are very much against Candace, don't really want her to keep meddling around with this. That tells you right there where things are at. I mean, I say she's gonna do what she feels is right because, like she said Christ is king. So, you know, she's following the biblical aspects of the Bible and God, and you know, she's gonna do her thing. Let me see in the chat room. Ross one says around people, he was human being out with his family. 2026. Okay. Recipes, Charlie. Okay. All right. Let me see how it's more long. This is still got another 15 minutes. Let's go. Raise.
Thoughts on how Erica Kirk has been dealing with this and some of the people that are close to him, his manager, Mike, and all them. Like, do you think they're just playing a role? Do you think they're involved? What are your thoughts on them in general? There's some of the people in his closest circle.
It is obvious to me that Mikey McCoy was the person that they wanted to launch as the new Charlie. That's very obvious. The way they brought his YouTube channel back with a speech from Mikey, and everyone was kind of trying to soft sell Mikey to us and was like, who's this kid? First off, you're 23. Why are you the chief of staff of anything? You didn't go to college. Who are you actually? And you're brought in by Rob, your dad, who is dirty. I mean, very dirty guy. I covered more of that yesterday. He just gives me the sleaze and the ick. And it just is very strange that I felt like they tried to manipulate us into accepting this, almost like they had like, Mikey's going to be this person. Then we see Mikey, he's a hero, and he just walks away right after somebody like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And, yeah, you know, with Erica, a lot of people on the internet have been going into her past, going into her parents' past, and, you know, just speaking about these things.
Israel defense contractors, parents, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen all of that. I respond to that on my show. And what I've said to everybody is I'm starting with what happened on that day, what happened leading up to his assassination. And the people that catch my attention are people who are telling verifiable lies. Okay. Erica thus far has not told any verifiable lies. She did not lie about the fact that he had St. Michael on him when he died. So there's two things. She could be on autopilot, and some people could be reading that the wrong way and thinking, oh, well, she's not acting right. Okay. Is she on autopilot because she fears something? Right. Again, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but you have to have some level of fear if you watch somebody get assassinated. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
And so people have been upset with me for not going, you know, down the rabbit hole on my show about Erica's parents. People's parents are people's parents. They haven't yet come up in my investigation. If I find out that her parents were involved, and then it's going to catch my investigation. And there's nobody that will be spared once they come up, once they tell a lie, I come across something. I just literally have not come across anything with Frank Turek. Also, I haven't come across anything with Erica in my investigation. So,
the shooter or the alleged shooter, you think they're a patsy?
of course, they're a patsy. I mean, come on, it's just so dumb. He wasn't even on campus that day. They can't show us one clear image, not even one. All of these cameras, Turning Point has everything in 4K. So shouldn't you have caught the shooter on the roof in 4K? Like, you had cameras everywhere that day. Every inch of that campus
is covered. So do you think that was someone else that was running across?
Absolutely.
It wasn't Tyler?
Absolutely.
Okay. Someone
that just sprinted. I don't even know if there was a person that sprinted that day, because everyone's forgetting there was also a news report that came out a week before that somebody was on the roof, and a professor came out and waved the person. Now, they may have been dropping off a gun, dropping off a screwdriver. I don't know.
Because there's one video, like one of the students had panned out where he was running. But that person who took that video that I had to track down, military. Really?
Everybody's military in the story.
Really? So the person that captured that, because I remember when it first broke out, that cell phone footage got released where the shot goes off, and for some odd reason, he's looking at the roof, and you see like a little speck running on the top. So that person that took that video was military.
Military. I got in touch with the person, and they didn't put the video up themselves. I had to go through 3 people. I'm like, so I'm supposed to believe you're like a college kid and you have nothing to do with anything. You just decided to randomly be like, oh, I got this video, but I'm going to send it through 3 people to have it released.
Interesting.
And also the Losey building, where the shot definitely did not come from, is the only place on campus that houses, I believe on the 3rd floor, according to my source, like the military something is in the Losey building. So there's a lot happening. All of that was just a show to mask who the real shooter was. I think it's way more likely that the shooter was in the audience or to the side of the audience. I think that's the more likely story, because he wasn't shot with a 30-06 first and foremost, and the bullet did not destroy his neck. I know that for a fact. And he actually
30-06 throws everybody off. But
that was their plan.
Yeah. Until
I accidentally, which I didn't even process it at the time, revealed that the bullet didn't go through.
Yeah.
And then they kind of were like, oh, it was just a miracle. Actually, it was no 30-06.
Yeah. The text messages are a bit strange too. And, this whole situation, I wish the government was being a bit more transparent, because this has an incredible amount of public interest. So it's like, look, dude, you guys probably should be more transparent on this, because government trust is down at its lowest when it comes to people trusting law enforcement, whatever. What are your thoughts on how the FBI and the state police are handling this in general? Because I know you've been critical.
I think what's way more important is trusting Alexis Wilkins as a sensational singer, and the people like
Be careful, she might sue you.
I don't want to talk about like the feds right now. Like they're doing what they have to. The more important thing is that this sensational country singer is left alone. We are just not a serious nation. I mean, I think if Putin's FBI director or put that out, Putin would just quietly have him assassinated or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we are just not a serious nation. That is just, they are tweeting like girls on TikTok right now. And it's embarrassing. It is so embarrassing. He should have been forced to resign. Trump should have made him resign for embarrassing us, because there's no way Putin's not laughing with his homies right now about that tweet. My girlfriend, my life partner.
Yeah.
We are.
She sued a bunch of people. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And obviously with his blessing. With his blessing, or you would say, hey, honey, not now.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, this is a bad time.
This is a bad time. I've got to be taken as a serious man.
Optically, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, the opposite thing happens now, where everyone's now calling her a honeypot. And so what's she going to do?
Any questions, guys? I hope you guys liking the stream. I don't see much likes here, so it tells me you guys not feeling the stream. Only got 11 likes and like almost 66 people watching. I know. This is Candace Owens. It's not the most entertaining of all streams, but it's something I do, and I had to say cover it. And one thing with these tethers, because they're both terrorists, and they're having a very civil conversation right now as we speak, right? That even between Candace and Myron, if you know, he did, or I think he was once formerly FBI, right? Now he turned content, right? He understands the sincerity and the works of other content creators. And if Candace was not well recognized and doesn't have a pretty substantial platform for herself, I don't think Myron would have this conversation with her today, personally, because she has to put in work really to have this sit down, you know, in my opinion. But everything works. Everything is timely when it comes to having interviews and conversation. What if and what has progressed so far in society, and where society is going, you know. And it is a necessary conversation at the end of the day to have, you know. So, all right, let's keep going.
Like whack-a-mole, just sue everybody on the internet who's making a joke, sue Tim Dillon or something.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. So it'd be fair to say, so you don't believe the official narrative, and I do agree with you. There's a lot of problems with it, right? We're between a 30-06. Why don't we have the full footage of him taking the shot, then running off? You're only showing him running. The text messages are strange.
They don't even show us him taking the shot.
Yeah,
that seems like a pretty easy thing to do.
That's one of my biggest issues, is they didn't show him taking a shot, but they have him running across the roof. So it's like, how do you not have him prone shooting the shot? So I guess, and I know you're still investigating and figuring everything out, but if you could kind of give me a quick summary, what do you think transpired in that day? Who do you think is responsible? Maybe a rough timeline. I know you're still filling parts in, but from what you have so far, what do you think? So this is a guess, and this is just like, if I had to guess right now where I'm at, and this, I think Tyler Robinson's only contribution was that he had his prints on the gun. I know that his prints were not the only prints that were on the gun, which is something that they haven't been honest about. Okay. I would suspect that his only role, DNA on that too and stuff. Yeah, I think Lance Twiggs is much more involved. I don't think he took the shot either, but I think he's more involved. I think that Tyler Robinson.
Oh, if I didn't say this before, guys, make sure you like stream, and like I said, repeat this again because I'm not sure my mic was muted. For those that don't know, that Candace and Myron are tethers. They have a formal civil conversation. As you know, Myron Gaines is once former FBI agent, and Candace is a journalist, or, you know, just a content creator. She didn't reach the status where she is now. I think they would have to sit down right now as we speak, talking about these conversations. And let's be honest, the thing what's going on in politics in New York, Charlie has been gone now for 2 months now. It's still an ongoing conversation. I wish her luck. Let's keep going.
All of these people that were involved that day got swept up in pedophile stuff, from George Zinn, the guy that cheered, his father is also a pedophile. The guy next, I mean, the whole thing is like, it was an operation with blackmailed people.
The Zinn guy was at 9/11 too. Weird.
Yeah. I mean, just unbelievable. And again, more of a marker that this was like a blackmail operation. Also, Zinn told a nurse that he was being paid. He didn't know how he was going to be paid for doing that after. So he was supposed to be another patsy. And
Yeah, because it was like immediate. Like
Oh,
he
yeah.
got like
It was just- he
when
was
this
his
all
role.
broke out, he got arrested and he was like it was out in the news like immediately.
multiple people involved that day. One person maybe just supposed to run across the rooftop. Another, I think Tyler Robinson, all his job was to pick up clothes. I think literally he didn't step foot on campus that day. And his job was to get rid of the clothes next to the Dairy Queen into some cemetery, which I broke. And the FBI is not disputed, but they decided to monitor the Dairy Queen afterwards and send some feds there. And yeah, so his role was to pick up clothes. I think Lance is actually the one that's walking in the backpack. And but
the TMZ
in
footage.
the maroon, yep. I think that's Lance,
TMZ footage,
and I
okay.
don't know who was walking up the stairs. I think that's a whole different person because they don't even look like they have the same body.
Okay.
And yeah, that's how you do a nice feather operation. You got a bunch of patsies doing different roles,
And then it shows the video of the stairway footage either, which is another thing that's strange.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I mean, I see there's a lot of, and I said it before, they've created more questions than answers.
Right.
Right. Which is obviously the problem here. But I know we're short for time here. So I'll just, where can people find you?
I mean, everywhere.
Yeah, you're everywhere.
Yeah, at your
Congratulations on number one
local
podcast, by the way.
courthouse, your local courthouse being sued. If
Yeah.
you'd like to find me, your local news station being called anti-Semite.
Oh, one last thing. Do you think, because I know Turning Point, they had said something about, we're going to go after anyone that's saying anything. Have they reached out to you at all or contacted you? Because you're probably one of the most outspoken critic of what's going on with this investigation.
Happy to have any person at Turning Point on my show to discuss anything that I'm saying, to make any corrections about anything that I'm saying. They can make a statement for all I care. I'm not going to stop investigating this until we're told something that makes sense, makes rational sense. And you're not going to tell me, like you do with Israel, that I'll get into heaven if I just ignore how Charlie Kirk was killed. We're not going to play that game. So say something that makes sense, or you have an enemy of me. That's pretty much it. And if you didn't want people prying into this narrative, maybe you shouldn't have executed him publicly.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have pretended he choked on an egg or something, like you did with that rapper a long while back when he started asking questions about things. Not a good idea to get everyone emotionally invested in the story and then to tell them to shut off their emotions.
No, I mean, you've been doing an incredible job of putting a lot of pressure on them, right? So hopefully we, get answers here, because what they have out right now just simply doesn't make sense. So,
Right.
So thank you so much, Candace. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So great.
Yeah.
And also thank you for being so.
Yeah, man. So there you have it. Oh, I think they were talking about Prodigy a couple years back. They said he had choke on the egg. That's what, which is questionable. So yeah, but overall, this was a fairly good discussion. Was a lot of conspiracy theories put out here? Possibly, but it makes sense at the end of the day. You as a person that's consuming the content, you have to use your own common sense, your own rational mind, your own logic to a lot of things you see today. I think between Candace and Myron, I think Candace hold her own on her dissertation, on her convictions, of what she really truly understands, not believes. And like anything, she's a researcher. If it doesn't make sense, she's going to question it, like any journalist is supposed to do. And sometimes journalism, as I look at it today, is falling off. And I think it's falling off because a lot of people that listen to journalists today, they're now using their common sense. They're thinking now, because things got to make sense. And it's hard to push narrative when people are more attentive to detail of things, to what they see. And I think if it's rational or foreign to people's eyes, it's going to be rational foreign into people's heads, their logic. So overall, she's going to continue to do the works. I'm not sure if anybody's going to really stop Candace at this point. I just don't see it coming, personally. But good luck to her in her endeavors to try and find what really happened to Charlie. I think she's not going to succeed, in my opinion, because you only go dig so much in, and once you get close, things happen, possibly. And I'm not sure anything will happen to her, and really I don't see it because she's already digging in, so they're not really doing much to her now. So I doubt anything's going to happen to her now at this point. But only time will tell. We shall see. We shall see. But thank y'all for watching today's content. Could have used more better likes. You know, likes are free, like always. But like I said, you be the judge. What's your thoughts and opinions? Leave your comments below in the comment section below. I'll be surely reading the response after this one. Also follow my social media links in the description as well. Follow me on Discord. Follow me on Twitter at Chaos27. Join me on Facebook, Eric Ring on Facebook. Become a member of the Chaos Rain Show as well. And join Rumble Handler. You never know. There's some content Rumble, and I'm going to put some more content depending if I got the time. On that, thank y'all for watching today's stream. Until next time, and I mean till next time, people. The Chaos Rain.
Man, fuck all you hoes. Fuck you and your mammy and your granny too. And fuck all you hoes. I'm sick of this shit. Fuck all you hoes. And fuck all you. Don't give a damn, bitch, what you wanna do. And fuck all you hoes.
They like the chaos.
They like the chaos. So when you're able to
Chaos.
let that chaos reign with,
Chaos.
let that chaos reign with,
Chaos
let that chaos reign with,
must reign.